We just spent 3 weeks giving you over 70 creative, frugal ways that we have spent less money and saved more money. And now it's your turn. We just spent 3 weeks giving you over 70 ways that we have saved money. And then we asked you to send us your best ideas, and oh boy, did you respond. We got so many great tips and strategies that we're literally not going to be able to share them all in one program. Over 100 of you sent in tips and ideas. So we have culled it down to the best of the best, and we are going to share 40 of those ideas this week, and because we don't want to leave out any of the very best, we're going to share 40 of them next week as well. So let's get started. And if you don't hear your idea this week, make sure you're listening next week, because you may hear it next week.
And we got some really good comments. I mean, I was amazed at some of the things that I had never thought of.
I know. This is so exciting, because I feel like we just got like this whole new arsenal of ideas that we want to try now. And some of them, you guys, some of the ideas that you sent in, we actually immediately implemented and started trying them. So This is exciting. Okay, so this first comment is kind of a caution from Sandra. Sandra says, do not ignore the possibility of curbside treasure. And she had a great story to share. Okay, so here is her story, and I'm going to read it just as she sent it to me. She said, hi, I just finished watching your video on ways to save money, part 2. And liked the idea of picking up from the curbside. I wanted to share a story with you. About 15 years ago, I went outside at work. I worked in the most wealthy neighborhood in Canada. That night, someone had put an area rug on top of our dumpster. I grabbed it, saw it was in perfect condition, took it home. I loved that rug. When I moved, I didn't need it, so I gave it to my daughter. So after watching your video, I decided to see if I could find a picture of it on the internet. And oh boy, did she. She found a picture that showed that the rug that she had used on her floor and picked off of a dumpster was worth $16,500.
How much?
$16,500.
My God.
Never ignore something that is at the curb that looks like maybe you could use it or you just plain like it. Sandra is living testimony of that. And she immediately called her daughter and said, by the way, that rug, don't do anything with it because it's worth some money.
I would have been really tempted to say, you know that rug I loaned you a while back?
Yeah, I can't get done with that now.
I'm really missing it now.
Need it back. I got room for it now. All right. Now, our first tip of the day comes from Amber, who tells us how to make DIY body wash. You want to read the instructions, Larry, from Amber. She tells us exactly what to do.
Okay.
All right.
Now, I'm not exactly a body wash expert, but I will read what her guidance is here. Her suggestion is, using a cheese grater, finely grate your favorite bar of soap. Add 2 to 3 cups water to the grated soap and stir over medium heat until the soap completely dissolves and the water looks milky. Optional, add in essential oils or coloring. Allow the mixture to cool for about 2 hours. At this point, it will start resembling a body type wash gel. Transfer body wash into a squeeze container and use.
Those seem like simple, clear instructions and very doable. Do any of the rest of you make body wash like Amber does? Because I actually really liked that. All right, Tip number 3, Debbie. Debbie is a dumpster diver. Anybody there with Deb? She saves hundreds of dollars in groceries and just today found a thermometer, a cast iron pot, and a small sewing machine. All were new in the box, and they were from Aldi.
New in the box?
There you go. I know, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
I know.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay, Mimi says, when it's cold outside, I thought this was brilliant. Leave the oven door open when you finish cooking, and you'll get free heat in the room.
That is a great way to save on your heating bill and get your house nice and toasty warm. Onion Potato says, if you wear glasses, you can make your own eyeglass cleaner. Yeah. Sorry, tap water does a very poor job of cleaning glasses.
Yes, which is why mine are always a mess.
Oh.
She's helping me. Go ahead.
Okay. Buy a spray bottle from the dollar store and mix it with 50% isopropyl alcohol in 50% water. This costs about 90% less than eyeglass cleaner bought from the pharmacy, which is probably that same mixture.
Great idea. Great idea. All right, wood pallets.
Oh, we got a lot of
We got a lot of wood
comments
pallets. We're
on
going to
that.
run through the wood pallet ideas really quickly, one after the other, because y'all told us what to do with our wood pallets. Okay, first of all, Elizabeth reminds us that if the pallets are green, don't take them, because green pallets have been treated with arsenic, especially if you plan to use these pallets for something that is like growing vegetables or maybe a mulch pile, something like that. Don't do it. If they're green, leave them be, all right? All right, so then Samantha actually sent us a photo of her wood pallet. It's a hanging unit that she puts on her wall for like knickknacks.
Awesome.
And
I like the photo too.
it's a great photo. Thank you. Yay, Samantha. This made our day. That was so much fun.
That's
And
really
it's
nice looking.
It's really
too.
pretty.
Yeah,
All right.
very nice on the wall.
Caroline made a sand pit, an outdoor potting bench, and a couple of large planters
Wow.
with her wood pallets.
That's very creative.
I love this one. This is from SB.
I'm currently sleeping on a bed frame made from pallets. I bought 8 of them for this purpose, untreated wood, at $9 a piece, and my dad cut them down to fit my mattress. It was supposed to be temporary, but my bed has lasted me almost 4 years now. That is amazing.
I love
What
it.
a creative use for
it.
pallets.
So Emily once saw an art exhibit of rustic paintings done on wood pallets. Mallory takes apart wood pallets, and I love this one. This is so much fun. So Mallory takes apart her wood pallets and makes a vegetable stand out of them. Then she puts it near the front of her property, and she stocks it with vegetables from her own garden. And so not only was the vegetable stand free, but she's making a profit from selling all of her excess vegetables. And we were like, you go, Mallory. That is awesome.
That's very industrious use of them.
Sue's husband gets free pallets from work, and he has made several things out of them.
Oh, wow. He's made a bookcase, a recycling center, and containers for homegrown herbs. Sherry makes a 3-sided enclosure with her pallets with chicken wire stapled onto them for a perfect compost pile.
Yeah, which I've seen done, and I think that is a brilliant idea. Okay, here's one from Glenn that both you and I went, oh, smart idea.
Yeah, wood pallet, you take them apart and you use the wood in your attic. You put that over the rafters to use as kind of a crawl space or even a space where you can store things. Now, we did something similar to this, only not with pallets. We, at our old house, there were some doors up in our attic that they actually laid those across the rafters. While we were out on a hike one night around the neighborhood on garbage night, we found, I think, 2 or 3 doors thrown out. We brought all those home and we used those to lay across the rafters, and we stored things, camping gear, all kinds of stuff up there on top of the doors. But a wood from the wood pallets would work just as good.
So now Angela has a nice partner, all right? So Angela's partner used the wood pallets to make a little table for her with wheels underneath. They used it in their living room. So it's a nice piece of furniture. She also made a little garden bench, and she's going to make her a nice wooden boxes for the pantry. And then she also wants her partner to make her a little mini garden where she can grow strawberries. And I'm like, all right, you are very, very fortunate.
That works.
All right, let's do one more for the wood pallets. I actually like Tanya's. I thought this was fun.
Oh, okay. Tanya says, or is it Taja? Tanja?
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 Tanja, Tanja maybe.
Tanja,
All right,
yeah.
Tanja.
Yeah. We burn wood pallets in our wood stove in the house.
Wow.
A company in our village will call us if they have a load for us to come and pick up.
Excellent.
So that's a great use. We use them outside and kind of the same thing, but using them inside would also heat your house. So that's great.
Now her husband, in another frugal tip, Her husband rides his bike back and forth to work, 60 kilometers back and forth to work.
Well, that's quite a long way.
I know it.
That's a good workout.
And not only that, she and the 3 children also frequently ride their bikes whenever they can to get from point A to point B. So, Tanja, nice job. Well done.
Healthy as well as saving money. And they live in the Netherlands. So
Yeah.
they're probably a little more bike friendly in the Netherlands than we are here in America.
Several of our viewers from Netherlands said,
Yeah.
you guys act like riding bikes is like, they said it's normal there. Like very, very common for people to ride bikes, which I wish it was more here. I
wish
Yeah.
it was. I tried riding to work, and it's not good. That people just are not conscious of bicycles here.
Okay, so CGT says, and I love her. So this is like, she said, this is like the most creative kind of / craziest thing she's ever done to save money. She tore apart her 50-year-old furnace and fixed it successfully. Then that kind of got her on a roll, right? So then she tore apart her 25-year-old washing machine to fix it, did it successfully.
Oh my gosh.
And she makes a note here, not bad for a middle-aged woman with no shop class experience. Thank you, YouTube University.
I can guarantee you, if I took apart our furnace, we would really save a lot of money on heating bills because I would never get that thing back together
It
again.
wouldn't work.
No way.
All right, so here's something else CGT does. She buys her glasses in an unusual way.
She buys them from Zenni Optical, an online retailer. The glasses are good, and they cost about $25 to $80 depending on the prescription. I also it probably depends on whether they're bifocals or I wear trifocals, so I don't know. Mine would probably cost a little more.
I have to say, my sister has used the same company.
Oh yeah,
Successfully and loved them. So tell us in the comments section, have any of you bought glasses online, and has that been a good experience for you? Because we can tell you from experience, they are really expensive.
Now, we don't buy glasses from the optometrist's office. We go to a discount retailer here in town. We go to All About Eyes to get ours, and we save quite a bit. So does that sound about right? We save quite a bit of money.
All right, so let's move on to some more great ideas that are creative ways to save money. Robin fertilizes her flower garden all year long with banana peels, eggshells, and coffee grounds. And if you just happen to really like coffee grounds, or you have a whole lot of them, or you need more coffee grounds, she says go to Starbucks. If you take a bucket into Starbucks and drop it off, they will take their coffee grounds as they use them, dump them into your bucket that you've left for that purpose, call you in 3-4 days when it's ready to pick up, and when the bucket is full, you take the bucket of coffee grounds home to use for your home and garden use, and it costs you $0.
I would have never thought of that.
I know. Great idea.
Okay, Regina says, I reuse any plastic containers and glass jars. My milk and coffee containers are reused for planting my veggie seedlings. I regrow green onions on my windowsill also. So, hey, that's a great idea.
I know.
Yeah.
I like that idea. And Regina wasn't the only one who said make sure that you're using those small containers to start your seedlings inside, take them outside, and then just plant them in the ground. I was like, that is like a way cool
It's always
idea.
good to repurpose things.
Now, Robin's got a great idea that also is all about plants. She propagates plants in her house, pots them, and then sells them. I actually did this. Robin, when we moved here, we had like flower beds out back, and I didn't know what all was in them or not in them, but I wanted to put my own stuff in them. And a lady up the street does the same thing. She propagates her plants, and she had them out at a garage sale, and so I picked what I wanted and brought them down and put them in, and went back up 2 hours later and said, hey, they're all in the ground at my house. Thank you so much. And they're beautiful, and they took right off, and they're still in there today. So, yeah,
All right.
Great way to make extra money.
Strength JMS says, I have stretched my gas dollar by using the cruise control on the highway. It's amazing how much less gas you use when you set the cruise control at the speed limit, especially for long stretches. That's a great idea. I even use it around town. And it might save you getting a speeding ticket. That way you got your speed set. You don't have to worry about how fast you're going when you see the radar patrol.
That is so true.
Yeah.
All right, next one is from Lugene, who says, I make Plarn. And I was like, Plarn. So then she explained what it was. I make Plarn out of grocery plastic bags. So plastic yarn. I'm like, got it. I know. So she
okay.
makes that out of plastic bags and bread bags and crochets rugs for small places. And she wasn't the only one who said that. Several people sent in this same idea of using those shopping bags, just taking them apart, making long strips out of them, and crocheting them into rugs.
I
Brilliant.
never ever would have thought of something like that. I'd like
Love
to see
it.
what one looks like.
Somebody send us a photo if you make them.
Yeah,
Send us a photo.
I'd like to see that. Kate says, don't buy copper cleaner to clean your copper bottom pots.
What should we do?
Just pour ketchup or tomato sauce on the bottom. Let sit for a few minutes and then wipe or wash it off. Your pots will shine like the smile on Jesus' face.
Well, Kate, that's
about that?
probably pretty bright. All righty. I'm going for that then.
Save the magnets from your plastic shower curtain liners. They are great on the fridge. Also, you can wash those plastic liners in the wash tub. Just put them in with a load of towels and hang them back up on the shower after the wash is complete. They generally come out wrinkled, but you can usually get by with 2 to 3 washes before having to buy another curtain. And that's another thing I never would have thought of.
I actually wrote Kate back and I said, Kate, I've been frustrated for years with the fact that those shower curtain liners, like they mold way too quickly and then you wind up throwing them out and then you just get a new one because like you're not going to deal with it. And I was like, never in a million years would it had occurred to me to put the plastic shower liner in with the rest of the wash and wash it up.
And here's one more
Great
from
idea.
Kate. This is a brilliant idea. And now I don't wear flip-flops, but for those of you who wear flip-flops, get this one. The plastic tab on your bread, you know, that little plastic tab that's used to hold it together, that can be used on the bottom of your flip-flops if they break at the toe. The toe part, the knob, usually comes through from the bottom, leaving a large hole, which then makes the flip-flop no longer hold the toe knob in place.
Right.
So you simply push the toe knob back through, slide the tab onto the toe knob between the bottom of the shoe and the toe knob, and voila, your shoe is repaired. Good idea to keep them in your purse or car when you're away from home in case a flip-flop busts.
I thought this was a great idea. For those of you who either take your kids regularly like to the Y or take them to the beach, man, when I had young kids, this would have been gold, I'm telling you. Because, you know, when does the flip-flop break? Not at home. No. It breaks when you're out somewhere, when you're at the beach and you least want your flip-flop to be broken. I was like, that is a really great idea.
Yeah, you don't want your flip-flop to flop.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so Margaret had an idea for what to do with old socks. All right, so you get an old adult sock and it's got like a hole or two up in the toe area. So she takes them and she said she noticed when her girls were younger that they would go outside. Now, all of us who are moms go, yeah, I totally understand. Because if you live in an area that's cold where there's snow, the minute snow falls, your kids want to go out and they want to play in the snow. So you spend 20 minutes. I'm not joking. You're never here when this happens. But 20 minutes to get a child completely dressed to go outdoors in the snow. And you would dress them, and then there's this spot right here between where their glove stops and the sleeve of their snow jacket. So there's a gap there where the skin shows and snow gets down there. And in 10 minutes, your kids are outside and they're back in saying, I'm cold. So she would take the adult socks with holes and match the holes up to her daughter's fingers and deliberately make it so that the sock went over the top of her daughter's hand. All right. So you're basically creating like a glove without any fingers. And the sock would go all the way down that child's arm and fill that gap, and they'd be able to go outside and play for a longer period of time. Loved it. Great idea.
Yeah, great idea. Lisa says that she makes her own paper scratch pads by cutting up envelopes that come in the junk mail. That's a good use for junk mail. You know, we just throw it out. So we'll have to rethink that now, huh?
So Sabrina is helping her friends to rethink their whole idea about whether they pick up pennies or not, because she said that she went to work and she was talking about picking up pennies, and they were like, why, you pick up pennies? And so they said, every time we see a penny, we're going to bring it into you. So they were bringing her all of their pennies, And over 2 years, she has rolled almost $40 in pennies because her coworkers don't want them.
That just makes sense.
That's actually pretty good. All right.
Nan says, I save glass jars. You see all those beautiful IG photos of professional organized kitchen. I just spray painted the outside of the tops and the lids so that they all match.
Love it.
Plus, the jars are great if you nail the lid to the underside of a shelf. My grandfather had screws and bits in them in the garage. Now, when we bought our house, the previous owner had about, maybe 10 of those lids and jars up, screwed up into the ceiling in the workroom. And I actually still use them. I load them up with screws and bolts and all kinds of fun stuff. So good idea to repurpose those. And Hope repurposes jars to put grains in them in the kitchen upstairs. You've got all kinds of grains in those glass ball jars. So good idea.
All right, next idea. Larry's got to turn the page.
And this is from Jennifer. Go ahead there.
Okay, now Jennifer tells us that every 8 weeks or so, she takes a can of air and sprays the coils on the back of her refrigerator to make sure that they are dust free. And we've always recommended that people actually use a vacuum cleaner and vacuum their refrigerator coils at least twice a year, but never would it have occurred to me to use canned air to do that. I thought that was a great idea.
I think canned air would probably do it a little more thorough job. I vacuum mine with a shop vac, but that's a good idea.
So, gift wrap materials, we're going to run through a couple of suggestions really fast. SCV says, reuse those gift bags for birthdays and keep them and use them to re-gift items in. She learned that tip from her mom.
Yep.
All right, Esther says, I started turning scrap fabric and pillowcases into fabric drawstring gift bags.
Oh my gosh.
They can be reused again and again. And the vintage homemaker, well, she irons tissue paper to reuse it in gift bags or gift boxes. That would never have occurred to me. Thank you, vintage homemaker. And she does the same thing to bows and long lengths of ribbon. And Carrie, the final one under gift wrap materials, I really liked this one. She just buys generic brown paper and then buys all kinds of different colors and textures of ribbons and bows. And then the only gift wrap she uses is the brown paper, and she changes it according to like the occasion she's giving the gift for or the person she's giving the gift for. And she just does that by changing out and using different colors and patterns of ribbon and bows.
Can I admit to using newspaper to wrap my our second son's birthday gift this last time? And I even cut out on the headlines different size letters. It said, to John, and it looked kind of spooky. It looked like it looked
like a ransom note. I was like, he goes, look what I did. And I'm like, it looks like a ransom note. He's like, oh, he didn't think he'd ever notice. And John walked in. I go, here, your gifts are over here on the table. And he goes,
he cracked up.
Why did Dad wrap it like a ransom note? So yeah, he noticed immediately. Sorry, I got to say. All right.
You don't have to use wrapping paper. There's a lot of different things you can do to save money.
Amy's frugal thing was amazing. What did Amy do?
We built our own house.
That's not something we're going to do, Amy. Oh, man.
We borrowed an excavator. We borrowed an excavator and dug down, built our own foundation, framed the walls, pretty much everything except electrical, plumbing permits, and hanging and mudding the drywall. That was all money well spent. Wow.
Holy cow.
That's aggressive.
This next one. Okay, so I identified not quite with this. All right. So when we first got married, we lived in a little 1-bedroom, 1-bath house, which literally had one double closet in it.
Four room house. Yeah.
And so I thought like we lived small. No. The Kasners said that the craziest thing they've ever done is my husband and I lived in a 90 square foot place to pay super cheap rent.
Wow.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, 90 square feet. So we want to know, all right, have you lived, are you living in a tiny house? Are you thinking tiny house? Is that something? Larry is actually, I got to tell you guys, he is super intrigued by this tiny house idea. He is. I'm not kidding you. He brings it up every once in a while and goes, I could do a tiny house. So, and I know a lady that actually lives in a tiny house. So I want to know.
I don't know why I'm 6'3" and I like everything small.
What's the deal? Okay, so they own their own home now, but now she is saving all of her paper scraps and she's going to shred it and make it into fire logs to burn this coming winter. And she said, I can't wait to see how it works. All right,
Wow,
Kasners, we want you to come back and tell us how it works because you're not the only one who mentioned shredding paper and maybe adding some wax to it to make fire logs for fires during the winter. I think it's a really, really fun idea.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
more than happy. This was a great idea too.
Okay, I save my receipts each month in an envelope in my journal. After scanning to fetch...
And Ibotta.
Oh, are those websites?
Yes.
Oh, because I was thinking scanning to fetch what? Oh, to fetch. Scanning to fetch. Okay.
I should have read this one, you guys.
Go ahead.
All right. Now I'll read it. All right, so she saves her receipts and she scans them to fetch an Ibotta, if applicable. And then at the end of the month, she goes through and she adds up all of her expenses. She journals once a month of her wins and then keeps notes of what she felt that she could do better. Other than necessities, I don't buy things during most months. In the same journal, I keep a list of wants. Every third month, I go through the list to see if it's still an item that I want. If I'm unsure, I put it back on the list and then she reviews the list again in 3 more months.
Wow.
So, and sometimes she looks at the list after a few months and thinks, why did I even want that? So it is her way to keep herself from spending extra money that she doesn't need to spend.
Do you remember when we used to go to auctions and people would get ferociously bidding on an object? And I would sit there, I would look at Hope and I go, I bet when they get home, they're going to say, why did we bid so much money on this item? It becomes a frenzy, you know. So we would just set a certain amount we would go up to and that far and no farther. But that's a great idea, and that's delayed gratification.
Absolutely.
You delay it enough that maybe it'll go away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so Carrie had an idea that's right up your alley, dear.
We have LED strips along our ceiling and patio and have hooked up to a car battery, no cost lighting. That is a great idea. And by the way, I use a car battery in our kitchen. I actually, for our kitchen radio, I use our old 1987 Chevette radio. Came out of my brand new 1987 Chevette that many years ago, and it still works. But that is what we use.
So Susie has actually ditched regular Ziploc bags. She wasn't the only one who said that, and I'm so interested in this whole idea of reusable, sustainable bags rather than adding more plastic to the environment. So we're interested whether others of you also do this, but they are dishwasher and microwave safe.
Okay.
She's had hers for more than 2 years and they're holding up just fine. All right. Linda is agreeing with Larry's suggestion to turn the baggies inside out and wash them to use them again. But rather than do that, she also bought a sustainable product. She bought some what?
Beeswax wrappers. I have no idea what that is. Is that what like comes in cereal boxes? That kind of paper?
No, this
Oh.
is beeswax. It's made out of beeswax. So once again, I'm fascinated. Tell me whether you guys do this or not. I looked it up because we actually had a conversation. Linda and I had a conversation about her beeswax wrappers, and she told me where to look.
And
So,
she says she
yeah.
uses them to cover up bowls and wraps leftovers for putting in the fridge. Okay, so that
right.
would be like something you would use in place of aluminum foil, let's say, huh?
Yep. So Linda was one of the ones who actually, she does foraging. All right, so what does she forage for, Larry?
She forages locally for blackberry leaves, dandelion leaves, rose of Sharon leaves, and she puts them in her smoothies, and she gets free nutrients from their greens. I've heard dandelions greens are good for you.
You've actually had dandelion green salad, but you maybe didn't know you were eating it. I'm just saying.
I had no idea. Okay.
He's had it. I actually like dandelion greens.
Snuck that one in on me.
You
huh?
have to find dandelion greens that that have not been sprayed with pesticides. That's the thing. In the city, it's kind of hard.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to go someplace where they've not been sprayed, and then actually in the spring they're very good to just eat. But I like the idea of collecting herbal remedies, and I would probably dry them and use them in teas and also tinctures, which I make also. All right. So Janet says, my mother used to say, when you feel the urge to the grocery store, do this. When you feel the urge to grocery shop, what did her mama tell her to do?
She says to go back over your list, cut out anything you really don't need, then wait an extra day or two while you use up things in the fridge that might go to waste otherwise. Then clean and organize your fridge, then go shopping. She estimated that trick helped her save at least 1/4 on her food costs. It cut out impulse buying and used up what we had on hand.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yes,
it
it
does.
does.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that makes so much sense. Some of these tips that you guys sent in, it was like, yes,
Brilliant.
It makes good sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we are on number 30. We have 10 more to go. All right. So Emily lived in Buffalo, New York, and our hats are off to Emily. Here's what she did.
She wins the prize
Holy cow.
in this category. I used to live in Buffalo, New York. Now, you all know Buffalo is very cold and they get tons of snow. Friends and I would compete to see who could wait the longest to turn on their heat. One girl said she waited till it snowed, late October. Another said she waited until the snow stayed. I won. I waited until after Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving, that turkey roasting and pies baking warmed the kitchen, and that's where all the action was that day. So I waited till the day after and turned the furnace on.
Oh my gosh,
Woo!
Emily, you so won. And I can see why, like everybody, you probably had more helpers in that kitchen than you have ever had before or since.
I
What
guess
a
so.
great thing.
Wow.
Number 31, Shirley. Shirley starts with a list before she does the day's errands, and she kind of treats her running of errands like she would if she were a business owner. And she tries to make sure that she's getting the most errands done with the least amount of effort and the least amount of mileage on the car. Love it.
Yeah. She says she starts from the furthest away and works her way back toward home. And then she uses careful lists so she doesn't forget anything. And that saves a lot of time and money in driving on your car. Andrea lives in north central Massachusetts. She found money and soda and beer can deposits, 5 cents in Massachusetts. And so they're putting those aside to prepay the mortgage principal. Any money prepaid on the mortgage, of course, saves interest. That's a very original idea.
Love it. That kind of beats our going out for ice cream with our found money. I'm going to say that's a far more noble cause than our ice cream fund.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
All right, Bernice. Bernice does not throw away. You know, when a company sends you like address stickers and stuff that you've not requested, they're just sending it to you, and asking for a donation in return. She keeps those stickers. She doesn't throw them out in the mail, but she uses them to tape things shut.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I love it. I thought it was a great idea. Okay, Paul?
So many of these I wouldn't have thought of. My tips. 50-50 white vinegar and water as a cleaner for most surfaces, especially the sinks and shower. Homemade deodorant. Equals quantities of coconut oil. I would never eat it as it clogs your arteries. Cornstarch and baking soda. Mix well, add essential oil for fragrance. Apply after the shower. I store it in one of those tiny condiment jars you get in hotels. It costs pennies, and a small jar lasts for several months. Works like a charm.
I really dig this idea.
Great idea.
It's easy, it's inexpensive, and I would definitely try that.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great idea. All right, Alan. Alan asks his neighbors for a little favor that's a little unusual because most of us don't want to keep this stuff, but apparently Alan wants it. What does Alan want from his neighbors?
He wants their junk mail and their catalogs.
Alan, I could set you up, man. I could help you out. What's he use them for?
Well, he uses them for crafts and origami. I give them cuttings of my plants. In 20 years, in our 4th floor condo, we have never used our furnace.
Can you believe it?
I get free clothes because my friends and adult children give me whatever they don't want. And
I guess that's from Tina.
That's from Tina.
Tina. Okay.
Yeah, we had 2 names on that one. Sorry.
All right. So Tina doesn't actually use her furnace.
Wow.
And I love that she is repurposing junk mail and catalogs that otherwise would go into the landfill. How cool is that?
Good way to purpose it.
All right. Number 36, Kathy.
I made a quilt top from old clothes. I use old clothes cut up for rags. I use scraps of fabric to make hair scrunchies. Yeah. What's that?
It's a scrunchie thing that you know when I make a ponytail, that's a scrunchie that you put the...
Oh, my hair's not long enough for that. So. Good idea. I cut bamboo from my backyard to make stakes for plants. I cut grapevine from my yard for a wreath. I dried flowers to make my own potpourri in pictures and note cards. I had shoes resoled. I use white flower cloths for paper towels. I use cloth napkins, and we make sun tea.
Yeah, love the sun tea idea, and the rest of those really awesome.
Very good.
And I noticed that like she's totally into like nature and reusing things, and that's like very awesome.
Yeah.
Laura buys a large bottle of liquid gel hand soap, and then she changes it into foaming soap. So here's how she does it, guys. She puts an inch of soap in the bottom of the foaming soap bottle and then fills the rest with water. Agitate it to dissolve the gel into the water, and bingo, you automatically have foaming hand soap. Isn't that glorious? Yeah. She said 1 large bottle of the gel soap lasts her for 1 year.
Wow.
I know.
That's getting the good out of it. Molly Happy Mum says, line an empty cereal box with a Ziploc bag and fill with food you want to freeze. Freeze, then remove the box, leaving behind a block which will stack easily in the freezer.
Isn't that brilliant?
Wow.
I read that and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that idea.
That saves space and stacks nicely. Reuse the box in Ziplocs too. And then she writes, love your frugal habits.
Well,
That's
thank
nice.
you, Molly. And we kind of like yours too. Because
I guess so.
I thought they were great. All right, Pamela. She learned this one from Prepper Princess, who I actually have watched. She's awesome. All right, so Prepper Princess says put everything you can on power strips because then you do away with phantom power. And it really, really does work. Here's another one. She only switches on the hot water tank for a few hours every couple of days. So then while that baby's on, she does everything that she needs hot water for, right? She showers, she washes dishes, she does all that stuff. And then she shuts her hot heater off again for another couple of days.
I would never have thought of that because it maintains a certain amount of heat all the time, but you don't need it all the time.
Exactly, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Because you're spending your energy dollars just to keep it at a certain temperature.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do. So, and then she says, water everything down, maybe half and half, and at most 3/4 of the product, the rest water. So you water it down, you get a little further out of it.
You know, because I did that with like juice when the kids were young. I mean, they didn't know what full strength orange juice or apple juice tasted like because I was always half and half. All right, Frugal Dutch Mom told us that this is like their family's benchmark for when you have taken frugality just too far. Okay, for them, this is too far. The only thing that is frugal that is too far is saving the salt off of pretzel sticks and keeping it in order to defrost their driveway in the winter. Anything other than that, probably fair game. So she gave us a couple of ideas that I thought were really great. She freezes a big batch of grated onion, carrot, celery stalks, and garlic. So she makes her mirepoix and freezes it. And she freezes it flat and then breaks it up into chunks, and she uses it for all kinds of meals, Mexican, Italian, stir fry, soups, risotto, etc. And it saves her a lot of time and cleanup because it's all grated and it's mixed up together and it's ready to go. All she got to do is thaw it and then use it. I thought it was a great idea. Never would have thought of that one. And our final tip for the night is
Celeste. Yeah, she says that she saves boxes and uses them for big fort building play date. What they do is they take these boxes and they give them to the kids and they build forts out of them and use duct tape to tape them up. Now, she claims there's a business in her town that charges $400 at a local camp, and they're filled up all the time. So they got lots of people paying $400 at a pop. She'll spend only $10, and that's for the duct tape.
What a fun time. So much fun. Now, I want to remind you that this might be the last tip we're giving tonight, but it is not the last of the series. We just simply could not pick the best of the best. Those were the top 40, and we got another 40 tips that came right from you, from the viewers, next week on the program. So we want to make sure a couple of things. We want to make sure you like this video. We want to make sure that you give us some tips and ideas of your own in the comments section. And we want to make sure, of course, that you're subscribed to Under the Median. We'll see you next week.
Is it recording?
I don't know. You tell me. Is it recording?
Oh, that's right. I'm the tech guy.
Yes, you are.
I forget that sometimes.
No worries. Oh boy, did you actually fulfill that brief really, really well. So actually we received over 100. Honey, you can't walk behind there. What's wrong with you? You got your little robe on?
And put my algebra away.
No, come over, at least pause so they can see and admire your flannel robe.
He looks like a monk in a monastery.
There,
Here, wait,
now.
I'll split out of here.
Feel good about your robe.
All right.
Now, go. Jeez. I don't know where I've left off.
I think we should start over.
Now,
Okay.
several people made this comment, and I'm fascinated by this. So she zipped, she's,
She what?
she zipped.
Okay.